So those listening to this right now, right? If they see the title and they say foster kids and it's not really my problem, I mean, but I want to make it, I want to bring it to their attention that it is actually everybody's problem. You should care. And why, Sharon? Why is that?
Well, why is that? It's because just in the US, there are 500,000 children in foster care at any given time. It's dropping a little bit, but it's still close to 500,000. Across the world, I don't even know what that number is. But in the US, that's 500,000. 25% of them will not graduate from high school. They'll either drop out, they'll leave with what they call a certificate of attendance, which is not a diploma. They can't use that to get a job. They can't use that to go into college. They can't use that to go into the military, all of those normal paths. The other reason that you should care is this is a group of children who are forgotten. We know foster kids exist, but the only time we talk about them, in the news especially, is when a crime is committed and then they say, and oh, by the way, they were in foster care.
Welcome to Your Wordless Podcast, the space where we redefine success, self-worth, and transformation. I am Nick Nieras, the soul-centered architect of transformation, helping you unlock your highest potential and build a legacy beyond limits. Now, whether it is self-mastery, career breakthroughs, or wealth creation, this is where change begins. Now, let's dive in. Are you stuck in a job that you don't love, feeling like you're meant for more? It is not in your head, it is in your soul. I am Nick Nieras, and I help high achievers like you break free from burnout, rewire self-doubt, and build a life aligned with purpose through coaching, hypnotherapy, and soul activation. Because let's face it, real wealth isn't just about money. It is about aligned and happy heart, mind, and soul. Now, remember, you are worthy and you are enough. Let's transform your life together. Visit www.thenicknierasholisticlifestyle.com to begin.
Thank you.
Okay, first off, right off the bat, what was it like growing up as a Sharon Dunlevy?
It was exciting. My dad was in the Army and career military, so we moved every 3 years or so, and I actually enjoyed that. I know some people don't, but I really enjoyed it. When I was in 4th through 8th grade, we got to live in Belgium, which was, an exciting experience and great age to be there because my parents took us everywhere and we were young enough that we wanted to go with mom and dad to places. So it was the perfect age. We got to see a lot of Europe and really my parents took advantage of that opportunity and we really enjoyed it.
Well, okay. The follow-up question from me would be, what is your backstory and why foster care?
Sure. So, when I was in high school, I took a class in child development and we actually ran a preschool in our high school. And I just loved it. I loved working with the kids. I loved learning about how their minds work and grow. And so I went from high school straight to college and studied to be a special education teacher. While I was in college, I actually felt called to go into ministry. So I got my special ed degree, but I also went and I became a children's pastor for almost 20 years. And I did that, but I wanted to serve more vulnerable kids again. And so I kind of left that after 20 years and a job came up where they needed an educational advocate for children in foster care at a licensing agency. And with my special ed background, I knew kind of the laws and what goes around helping kids with special needs. And so I applied for the job and got it and just fell in love with the kids, the foster families, making sure that their needs were being met. And that's what I've been doing ever since.
Okay, my podcast talks a lot about self-worth, Sharon. And so, have you ever had those moments where you were supposed to do this, but you did not do it? Like, would you say this is your calling?
It is. And it took me a long time to get there. Right? I spent 20 years in ministry and I don't regret that time at all. And I'm the type of person that I try not to have too many regrets. I feel like every experience I've had, positive or negative, builds who I am. And so I needed that time in the church to work with people, but also to kind of build who I was as a professional. I came right out of grad school into working in a church and really fairly immature. I mean, I went to college, I went to grad school, I went right into working. So I was only in my, early to mid 20s. And I needed to grow up some. So I had those different experiences, and I had a church that really supported me and helped me grow, and then I did a couple of other church jobs. But I would not have been able to emotionally handle working with foster kids had I known at 27 that's what I wanted to do. I needed to get some of that growth. I also, one of the reasons I applied to be on this podcast was that phrase, "you're worthless," really caught me, right? Because how
Yes.
many times do we feel like that? And so, I feel like had I jumped into something so emotionally intense as a 20-year-old, I don't think I would have had the self-worth, like the sense of self-worth to do that job properly. So all those experiences I had, good and bad. I mean, I had some very trying experiences in my professional life that really I either had to dig in and find
Mm.
who I was, or I would have given up. And I really dug in and I started to stand up for myself. I would not have done that before. I started to get a sense of what are my core values and what does that mean for me professionally. I never am going to be rich. That's not a core value for me. A core value for me is service. And sometimes service means you take crappy paying jobs. And so,
Yes.
right? I
Yes.
mean, and I would like to be a little richer, but also I'm following my heart and I'm doing what I feel like I'm supposed to do. I mean, I say I left the church, but I didn't leave ministry. That is who I am. That is who I
Oh,
am. I'm ministering to people still. So yeah, so that sense of self-worth has grown over the years. And I still have bad days. I mean, I'm 52 years old. I'm still seeing times when I'm like, "Oh, I wish I had done that better. I wish I hadn't reacted that way." But yeah, it's all part of who we are, and if we can incorporate those into our personalities and learn from them, then I feel like, we're going to continue to grow.
there's so
Yeah.
many things to unpack right there. I mean, you said you definitely hit the nail in the head with the self-worth and the growing up that you need to do and the digging in, right? And then you said something about you having to develop certain characteristics or certain values to be
Hmm.
able to do what you do right now at its highest level at least,
Yeah.
and keep on growing and expanding day in and day out. So
Hmm.
what are those values? I mean, what does it entail to do what you do now?
That's a big core value for me. Everybody should have a seat at the table, and not just a seat at the table. Everybody should have a voice. And so that's what
Okay,
I feel like.
that's right.
I'm speaking for those kids who can't speak for themselves. I'm speaking for those foster parents who are so consumed with what they're doing day to day that they're not able to get out there and take this message out to people. Another core value for me is everybody should have a purpose. Everybody should know that they have a purpose. Again, I wanted to be on this podcast because of that phrase, "you're worthless." How many of my foster kids feel like that? I mean, they would tell me things like, "I'm just too dumb. I'm never going to graduate." I actually had a foster kid who told me that she was the spawn of the devil because her mom, and she was a high schooler, her mom calls her dad the devil. And so she just believed internally that she could never be good because she was the spawn of the devil. That's horrible. Horrible, right? I mean, these kids, they're not going to succeed if they don't feel like they have a purpose and that they're supposed to be here. And so that's a big one for me is helping others see their own self-worth and their own identity and helping to give them some strength in that. Give them those tools they need to succeed. And if they need me to be their voice, to be that voice.
I love that. When you said spawn of the devil, I could almost imagine that because since they're foster kids, I mean, the feeling of worthlessness is definitely insurmountable than just, normal kids. If they see left or right and then they see all of the privileges that the other kids have and they don't have
Yes.
them, it'll make them feel a certain way. So, Sharon, how do you actually help them and then like hold their hands in these trying times?
Sure. So, when I first started as an educational advocate, I was the one going to the schools. I was working with a licensing agency in Indianapolis, and I would be the one that would go to the schools. I would be the one that would meet with the students, get them tutors if they needed them. I would be the one to see what were their goals, making sure that, especially as they got into high school, if they wanted a specific career path, is that what was being worked towards, making sure that
Mm-hmm.
that was happening, getting them those resources. Then I was under a grant for that position, and that grant ran out and COVID hit. COVID changed the world. And so I went out on my own. And so now what I do is, because most states in the US do not have educational advocates for children in foster care, like my licensing agency did, I trained the foster parents to be educational advocates. And so now what I'm doing is helping those foster parents be able to speak up for their kids. So I'm not working directly with children anymore, but I'm training the parents who are. And
Mm,
I also train them in things like, how does trauma affect the brain? How do you build a safe and stable home? How do you take care of children who have attachment problems? So I've gone through several different train to trainer correct. So I have training certificates in different types of curriculums so that I can help these foster parents be the best foster parents they can be and then impact the children in that way.
I love that. Okay. So, to those listening to this right now, right? If they see the title and they say foster kids and it's not really my problem, I
Mm,
mean, but I want to I want to bring it to their attention that it is actually everybody's problem. You should care.
mhm.
And why, Sharon? Why is that?
Well, why is that? It's because in the US, there are
Mm-hmm.
500,000 children in foster care at any given time. It's
Mm,
dropping a little bit, but it's still close to 500,000. Across the world, I don't even know what that number is. But in the US, that's 500,000. 25% of them will not graduate from high school. They'll either drop out, they'll leave with what they call a certificate of attendance, which is not a diploma. They can't use that to get a job. They can't use that to go into college. They can't use that to go into the military, all of those normal paths.
mm-hmm.
Um, the other reason that you should care is this is a group of children who are forgotten. We know foster kids exist, but the only time we talk about them in the news, especially, is when a crime is committed and then they say, and oh, by the way, they were in foster care.
Hi, I'm Nick Nieras, your host of the Your Worthless podcast. Now, if these real raw stories hit home, don't wait. Please follow, like, and subscribe my Spotify and YouTube. For bite-sized inspirational reels, follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Don't wait. Your transformation starts today. Thank you, and bye for now.
Right? I mean, we do not talk about these children. The reality is, probably everybody knows a foster kid some way or somehow, but you may not know it. And that's because a lot of times the kids don't want you to know. They don't want to be
Yes,
treated differently. They don't want to be
differently.
seen as differently. And a lot of because of what we see in the news and how they're presented in the news, they feel like they're automatically judged. And the other thing we do in the US is we tend to blame the victim. These kids did not choose to be in foster care. These kids did not choose to have trauma happen to them, but we blame them for their trauma behaviors. Trauma causes these kids to be easily triggered, and they stay in fight, flight, or flee mode. Right? They are constantly on that edge, and so
Reactive. Yeah.
very reactive. Yes. And so when they're reacting, we look at them and go, "Oh, wow, what's wrong with this kid?" Rather than looking at them with compassion and saying, "Wow, this kid has a need, and what are they trying to communicate to me?" So one of the phrases we use all the time in the foster care world is that
Excuse me. Excuse me.
behavior is communication.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah, instead of saying, "Oh, they're just being bad or they're just being manipulative," no, they're trying to communicate a need. And we as adults need to identify that need, not blame them for those behaviors. And unfortunately, it's just the way we are. We don't understand something, so
We
we
resort
just
to this. We
yeah,
assume the worst.
we assume the worst. Exactly. And so, yeah. These kids, there's a lot of foster kids out there. And when you think that 25% won't graduate and that 20% will probably be homeless at some point in their life, 21% will be in jail at some point in their life. If you want to break it down to dollars and cents, that's a lot of money. I mean, that's a lot of money. One statistic said that we spend about $3 billion a year on children who age out of foster care and not have a job. We're paying, they're on government assistance of some sort. And so that's a lot. That's a lot if you want to break it down to dollars and cents.
And
I
then
prefer to say that they deserve to be treated, as and with compassion and with empathy. And
yeah.
that's too many kids.
And if you're talking about dollars and cents, right? I mean, because I come from that background as well, the
Mhm.
impact that they have on the economy, if they were to go on the
Yes.
path, the educational path, and they're provided with the right education and support,
Yeah,
they'll be able to contribute to the economy. And again, there are future leaders,
exactly.
like it or not. To be
Yeah.
honest,
Yeah.
a certain
Yeah.
percentage of foster kids will be our future leaders.
Absolutely.
It's a cycle. If you don't regard them right now, whoever the focus, okay, so let's say we're focusing on certain groups. I don't want to say what groups are those, but that we focus on certain groups, and then these groups would be the troublemakers. And it's a cycle. It's a vicious cycle. So it all starts with us. Starts with you. And I would like to say thank you, Sharon, for, not many people would walk this path. I too, maybe a bit of story about my background. I never really cared about seeing people from their perspective or putting myself in their shoes
Mhm.
until I hit my own let's say downfall. And so it has really humbled me to the point that everybody has their own stories, and it's a
Yeah.
ripple effect. And if you want to change
Yeah.
the world, you have to start with yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's about educating ourselves. It's about not burying our heads in the sand, right? A
Yes.
lot of times we
And
want
hoping that
to
the other
Yes.
governments will take care of the problem.
Yes, right. Yeah, we have to realize that these people, and it's not just foster kids, right? Like you said, there are a
Yes.
lot of forgotten groups out there that need us to know that they're there and to speak up for them, because the forgotten groups are the ones who don't have representation at all. And so I'm pretty sure we may, but I would have to look and see, have we ever had a elected official who was a child in foster care? We may have had that. I don't know. At the federal level, I do know
Yes.
they don't talk about foster care a lot at the federal level. And
Exactly.
so, do they invite former foster kids to come in and talk about what's happening to them? I was so surprised when Biden was president and they made a big point of saying that he, for the very first time, very first president ever, had school children, not foster kids, but school children actually come to the White House and talk to them about their experiences in school and what could be better. We never did that in this country. Ever. How do we not give them their voice? How do we make decisions for school children without knowing what they really need and want? I mean, so yeah, we're not bringing the right people to the table. I would love to see some politicians say, hey, we need to gather some foster kids and talk to them about this. And not just, once in a while, not just for show, but for real.
For real.
For real. The other thing that frustrates me about these forgotten groups is when Congress and all them are on break, why they should be going home to their home areas and they should be out meeting with these groups. They should be out having conversations. They tend to either disappear or they sit in their office and they wait for people to come to them. And that drives me crazy. Right? You're elected. And not only you're
Come on.
elected, but
Yeah.
you're a paid elected official. Get off your butt and go visit those schools. Go look at what a foster group home looks like. Go sit in a group of veterans who are at the VA. Go sit in a group with them and talk to them about their needs. There are just, if they would get out there and do what they're supposed to do, I think they'd have a better handle. Like you said, we don't see it from the distance, right? Until we've experienced our own setbacks, we often don't realize that there are people out there like us who have struggled, who have fought, and so we tend to lift up those that make it, but what about those that never make it? Why are they not making it? And what is it, the systems that are holding them down? And we can't know that until we get down in the trenches with them.
Yes. Wow. I'm just reminded again why I do what I do. It is such joy. I mean, you said it, right? As a podcaster, I haven't been making the big bucks yet, but these very messages are the reasons why I keep doing what I do.
Yeah. Yeah. And on the guest side, I am so grateful that there are people like you who are out there willing to let me come and speak, because I do about a podcast a week at least. And it's because of you guys that I can get this message out. And so, it's a team effort, right? When we can all, and I can't do this alone. I cannot. So, right, I need people like you to help me spread this message so that I'm not doing this alone. Just the right listener who can hear what I say and say, oh, wow, I need to look into this in my area.
Who could be a politician.
Who could be a politician. Right?
Then we'll be moving the needle.
Exactly. Yeah. We have got to work together to change all of this. And so, yeah, I just so appreciate people like you who let me come on and talk about things like this.
Virtual hug, Sharon.
Yes.
Okay. So I want to reel it back into the misconceptions that people have about foster care. Yes. Can you list some of them? And then can you bust those myths?
Yes.
Misconceptions.
So first, on the foster kid side, like I said, a lot of times they're considered, troubled kids, bad kids, but that's not why they're in foster care, right? Their parents did something that caused them to be in foster care. These kids are just communicating need, and we just have to listen and adjust. On the foster parent side, there are a lot of misconceptions, and the biggest one is that foster parents do this for the money. And I really want you to know, yes, foster parents get a stipend. It is not enough to cover food and costs.
Wait, can you explain that? What do you mean by them getting a stipend?
So they do get a payment every month that's supposed to help cover the cost of the foster kid.
Right. Okay.
They're not making money.
Okay.
They're breaking even, or if they have a child in childcare. Yeah, at a loss. Yeah, because if they have a child that is a preschool age and they're having to send them to childcare, a lot of the states do not give extra money for childcare. So, like here in Indiana, they can get what we call childcare vouchers. However, those vouchers, even if they make it to the top of the list, they still could wait 6 months to a year before they can get vouchers and get them into childcare. So then the foster parent can't even work, outside of the home. So they're not making money. That's the biggest myth. The other thing is there is a lot of negativity about foster care and foster parents and the abuse that happens in the system and all of this. Yes, it happens. And certain states are worse than other states. Absolutely. However, for the most part, foster parents are there because they love children. You are going to get the bad seeds, just like in any job, anything. But most states have good systems in place to catch those. Not all of them. Not all of them are caught, but we do the best we can. And I think that's really important to know that the abuse is not as much as we think it is. And that's, again, media blows it out of proportion. People like to get on social media and say, well, I heard this story. And it's like, okay, but you heard it. You didn't actually live it, right? And then the other thing is that children in foster care, like I was saying, we've got a low percentage that graduates and all of that. But of those ones who do graduate, or not even do graduate, there are foster kids out there who are trying to make a difference. So there are ones that are like me. They're getting on podcasts. They're writing books. They're sharing their stories of what they did. They're advocating for change. So there are good things happening but they're slow, they're behind the scenes, not as many people are aware. And so we just need to know there is that potential out there, but it took a lot for them to get there. They had to have the right people in their corner. They had to find that one person that believed in them and helped them get their voice out there. They didn't do it alone. It's not like pulling yourself up by the bootstraps and then all of a sudden, everybody could do this if they just worked harder. They were the exception, right? They were the ones that could break through. But so those are the main myths that I think we hear, is that, the kids are bad, the foster parents are making money, the state's making money. I don't know about every state. Some states do seem to have some type of compensation system if they remove a kid. I really don't understand how that works, but that's not right. And then the other thing is not all foster kids are removed for abuse. Some of it is poverty. Some of it is educational neglect. Those bother me the most, because had we not been reactive, had we been proactive and had systems in place to help a family that's in poverty before the kids are removed, then we could be making a bigger difference all the way around. But we tend to remove kids when their parents fall into poverty, and then we never help the families get out of poverty. So, it's that, like you said, it's a vicious cycle. It's just going to keep feeding on itself. But yeah, those are the basic big misconceptions that I always hear about foster kids and foster parents.
Well, you're out here busting those myths right now and showing to them, the world at least. Now, this is going to be aired worldwide, obviously, and my audience are not just the States and also in Asia. So it's, even though we are talking, the context is the US, but it is also happening. It's not talked about. It's not talked about in all these countries, at least in my country too. It's very, they're marginalized, right? They're small groups of people. But it's awesome. Now having somebody to come onto my show and actually explain what are the impacts and what are the behind the scene, I would say, no, the misconceptions, and then what's happening behind the scene, why is it important for us to pay attention to this? We're helping to move the needle, one person, one foster kid at a time, and one day at a time.
Yeah.
You spoke about your self-worth, right? So can you share with us, what are those things that you had to let go of and the things that you had to build within yourself?
I was too loud. I was too outspoken. I was
No.
too.
I love that. You see, all these people who actually label themselves as too much, too loud, too bold, too in the face are usually the ones end up, changing the world. So we have to stand in solidarity and keep shining. If they can accept our light, then I mean,
Yeah.
you got to work on yourself. I mean, there's some
Yeah.
triggers, obviously.
Right. Right.
Yes.
Well, and yes, I mean, I was actually told I was not feminine enough. Yeah,
The
exactly.
audacity. The
Exactly.
audacity.
And bossy. I grew up being called bossy, right? And I always
Mm.
say, yeah, no, I was being
I get that a
I
lot
was a
too.
future leader. I was a future leader, right? Yes. Bossy kids are leaders in the making. You can direct that bossiness. But yeah, I felt bad because I was different. And I was too emotional. That's the other one. I'm too emotional. I mean, if I get angry, I cry. That's me. And people wanted me to come and be able to speak in a meeting or whatever without breaking down in tears. And it's just not who I am.
Yeah.
And it took me a real long time to become okay with being too loud and everybody who didn't like me hurt me and all of this stuff. And it started to realize the ones who didn't like me, I didn't particularly like either. So why did I care? Right?
Why did you have to please
Why
them?
Yeah, well, why did I have to do that? And then when I became a mom and my
Mm.
own kid tended to be a lot like me, very empathetic, very loud, wanted to stand up not just for themselves, but for their friends. It was and then coming home and crying because so and so was mean to them. And,
Yeah.
having that same conversation of, well, are they really your friend? Well, no, they're a bully. Well, then why do you care? I mean, who do your friends like you? Yeah, well then those are the ones you should care about. Having to see that through my own kids' eyes was really interesting. And my kid now is 23 and out there changing the world themselves. And so, but yes, I was always too something. And that too phrase drives me crazy, right? But on the other side, even though I am out and doing these things, I am actually an introvert. I push myself to do this stuff. I have pushed myself. But I will say at night, and I have a wonderful husband, there will be times at night when we're watching TV and we just don't even talk to each other. And it's not because we don't want to. It's because we're both just decompressing from being out. He works at a nursing home, so he's in front of people all day
All
long.
day.
And he does it well, but it's tiring for us. We come
Yes.
home drained, putting all that energy out for other people. And people just don't know that about me. I still struggle with this. I always tell my foster kids, I always tell my foster parents, don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help. And then
do you do that?
I
you
don't
practice that?
always ask for help. Yeah. I realize I'm taking on too much. Oh, I'm doing too much. And some of that also was, and I'm sure you have listeners out there who have done this. We always say yes because we think we want to please people, right? I would allow people just to pile things on me and feel like, well, they don't have anybody else. Or I would build my self-worth on that. Oh, they need me. I'm so awesome.
my
They
God,
need
yes.
me,
I'm
so
important.
I'm important. And meanwhile, they're taking advantage of me because
Yes.
they know I'll say yes.
Yes.
And so, yeah. So all of those things really built up. And so a lot of what I teach my foster parents and it's a lot of my own self-learning of those boundaries, how to say no, how to cut yourself off from family that's not supportive. It's amazing to me how many foster parents' families don't approve of them being foster parents. And
yes.
and
Because it's
having
frowned
to
upon.
yeah.
Those are not your real kids. Those are
Yeah. And so, setting some boundaries, or the families will say things to the foster kids that are just not nice or they're they may not mean to be mean, but they are. And so, yeah, I really had to just kind of come to terms with I'm not too much. I am who I need to be because if I'm not speaking out, if I'm not being bold, if I'm not being loud, who is? And
Oh my God, that is
I
the very gifts that you have to carry out this mission of yours here on earth.
yeah. Yeah. And I had to give up caring what other people think about me. And it's
That's the
hard.
second biggest one. Yes.
And that it's hard. There are days still where somebody will react to a post and I'll want to say something mean, and I'm getting better. I'm getting better. Sometimes I'll type it and erase it. Like it helps to just type out what I want to say,
As long as it's out of your system. No, but
and then
seriously,
erase
I
it
do feel
before it
that
don't
too.
hit send.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And I noticed, right? I noticed like myself too, because we're the change makers. We are the trailblazers, and we are doing things that our community has never even done or attempted to do before. And if we
Yeah.
are the first ones, who's our model? And
Yeah.
we overthink about other people's perception towards us. But to be honest, Sharon, I mean, the reason why it is planted in our hearts, it's because I believe there's higher power. I believe there's God. And there's a reason why it is placed within us, because the universe knows that we can actually carry these things and not the other people around us.
Mm-hmm.
And so
And yeah. Oh, and well, like you said earlier, sometimes you think you're going to quit. Why am I doing this? I'm not making any money. Why am I going to do this? And I believe in a higher power too, obviously. And I will tell you right now, I'll think about like, I've thought about, well, maybe I just need to get a different job, and I'll look and
my
I'll start
dad
applying.
used to be, yeah.
I
But
start
every time
applying.
a job
Yeah.
description comes into my inbox and they say, Nicolette, we need some of it. And then I would read, and all those, and those skill
Yeah.
sets are the ones that I have acquired over the years. But I'm like,
Yeah.
doesn't sit well with me. I
Yes.
can't.
Or something will come up and it'll be another opportunity will open that I was looking for. And so it's like every time I feel like I'm going to give up and the door opens. And I had to watch for those signs, right? Like, I mean,
Yes.
I feel like God is
I
guiding
love that.
me, and so something important's happening. And sometimes I sit there and I argue with God about, I don't know what's happening and what I'm doing and why you put
Why?
me like
Yes.
this. Yeah. Why am I worrying about my rent or my mortgage this month?
Exactly. Yeah. How am I going to pay my bills?
Yes, but then somebody comes and says, "Oh, I really like your story," or "I want to, I've got another interview this week. I've been looking for some state contracts. So I have a contract with the state of Ohio to train their foster parents. And I have an interview today for another state to see if I can get
Yeah.
into their training system." So, and that was after I had applied for a different job and got turned down. This contract potential came up. So, yeah, I
Oh
mean,
my God, it's
I'm with
happening
you. God,
serendipitously for
God
you.
guides us. Yeah. But we
Yes. Oh,
have to be
yes.
willing to step up. We have to be willing to trust. And that's so hard for me because I'm a control freak.
We all
I really
are.
just, yeah.
At least for
Why
me.
can't God just do what I want?
Yes. I want it done this
Yeah.
one. I want it done this way, and by next week I should have this. By the next month, my post will blow up, or yada 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 yada.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I love
But it's
talking with you because,
divine
you
timing.
get it.
I get it.
The inside, right? That inside voice that and I'm sure you have listeners out there that are going, yes, this is what I've gone through. And yeah, I mean,
And
it's
there's
so hard.
Exactly. And it's so many people. I know we are all on different paths or on different stages of our journey in life. And some are just too scared to move because what would they think of me? But then there's some in the cusp of moving, but they don't know what to do. But then there probably some people are in our stages right now. We have done some work. I mean, we've done a lot of work, obviously, in ourselves for us to be out here and be talking. But then there will be days, because we're humans, right? We have a spectrum of emotions. We will feel down. And but I'm saying to you that we have gone through that, to those listeners right now, and you are not alone. Whatever your purpose is.
If you're open to listening, it'll be revealed.
Yeah.
And I do a lot of like professional development. So I'm a lifelong learner. If I could be in school and get paid to do it, I'd be happy as could be. But,
Me too.
I do it on my own. But I have this is not my background. I mean, this is a virtual background, but I do have a bunch of books behind me that are like on my to-do list and to read list. And I do try and do some type of professional development every day. And a lot of that is around that idea of myself. Even when I trained my foster parents and they're talking about, how do we manage children's behaviors? It really isn't about managing children's behaviors. I title it that way. But when they get into the class, it's about managing our own responses. Children are going to behave a certain way based on how we respond. Well, it's the same thing with life. It's all about ourselves. I mean, I want to change other people, but if I can't be open to changing myself, it's going to be very hard for people to identify with me and want to change themselves. And so I do a lot of reading around, who am I? What's my purpose? And I could name off books, but there are tons of different things out there that you could read that just really gets you thinking about things differently. And one of them was, I can't remember the name of the book, but it was about regret. And that one was really eye-opening for me because he talks about the fact that we shouldn't be thinking of them as regrets. We should be thinking about them as lessons, that everything that we've done and been through is lessons. And I think you had said something about not taking action is, I don't want to ever, and that was something he said, you don't ever want to regret not taking action because you are scared or whatever. It's easier to take action and learn from it than to wonder for the rest of your life, well, had I done that?
What if? Exactly. Oh my God.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I wish I could remember the name of the book, but it's something about regrets.
Can I let you in on a secret, Sharon? Actually, that was the phrase that I used when I was debating whether I was to marry my ex-husband at the time. I was like, okay, what if I don't want to go through the next 5 years thinking, what if I had gone through that path? And I did. I mean, it wasn't all fairy tales, obviously, and we separated after 2 years. But had I not gone through with the wedding, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have the courage to talk to you. I wouldn't have to strip my old beliefs about myself. I wouldn't relearn what I need to learn for me to move on to my next act or move towards my higher self.
Yeah.
So it is just a redirection. And truly, there's no mistakes or failures. It is just.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I dated a whole bunch of jerks. Yeah, it's lessons. And I always say I dated a whole bunch of jerks. So when I met my husband and he was actually nice to me, it was like, oh, wait, I could have a positive relationship. We've been married 27 years and he still drives me crazy, but we've been married 27 years. We've made it through a lot. Job losses, all, bad pregnancy, all sorts of stuff. We have made it through a lot, but I had to make those mistakes as a young lady to realize I could be treated nicely by a man and then appreciate who he is and what we do together, because really we are a team. And that was so different than my experiences in the past. And so again, same thing, it's all about learning. It's all about growing. It's all about realizing who we are, and we can be ourselves individually and we can be ourselves with other people. But sometimes you have to find that right person that complements you and not tries to suppress who you are.
Preach, Sharon. Thank you. All right. So, Sharon, what is exciting for you now? What are you working on currently?
So what's exciting is, one, I'm talking with this other state today.
Okay. Yeah.
But I have been really, like I said, I've been doing about a podcast a week. And then what I do is I take these podcasts and I transcribe them and put them as a blog post. I do little clips so that I can promote them everywhere. And I'm just building an audience, right? I'm just building an audience. I'm making a lot of connections. And that's exciting. It's exciting to realize that there are people out there once they know and they're like, oh, I didn't realize this. What can I do? that's what's exciting to me is when and I mean I've been invited to speak at a few places. So, I'm getting that message out and I feel really good about that. Like I know that this is what I'm supposed to do and the money will come somehow. I trust that it's coming.
It is. It is.
But
And I just
you
got
know,
a notification. How to apply billion-dollar thinking. That
yes,
is the confirmation, Sharon.
yes.
Amen.
Yes, yeah. But even my parents, I struggled a lot with disappointing my parents. That was,
My
they
God,
they
me
always seemed.
too. Why?
Yeah, they felt like they were disappointed in me as I was growing up. But my dad messaged me one day and he was like, "Your mom just asked what an influencer is." And so I was telling her how you're a foster care influencer. And I mean, I cried. I cried like that my dad saw me that way was like, oh wow. So yes, I still do care what other people think, but that was my dad. I mean, I
No,
cried
I mean,
because
that
it's
is.
like that's what I was like, oh wow. Oh wow. Dad gets it. This is what I did.
Dad gets it.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my, I'm so happy for you. Like, my dad used to be on my pestering, like, okay, when are you? I mean, I was laid off last year, and that's why I was pushed into this full time. And so, of course, being a father, he wants stability, right? And I moved back to my parents' place. I mean, there's also a silver
Mhm.
lining to that because I have been away from home for 17 years at least. So it's a good time.
Mm.
But I've
Yeah.
been, living on my own and I have to cut. So I get to cut on
I
my
know.
expenses. And so,
Yeah.
but he sees me doing this day in and day out. He doesn't really say that out too much. And he sees me because he follows me on all social media and he sees my posts coming up. So he'll like them. Usually
Me
when he
too. My dad
calls,
does that.
yeah,
Yeah.
when he
Yeah.
calls, he'll be like, right now, I don't, at least for about 6 months now, I haven't heard him say, when are you gonna apply for a 9 to 5? So
Mhm.
I believe he believes in my mission. I mean, not as
Yeah.
much or not as deep as I believe in it, just yet, but I think he
Mhm.
sees the work and he sees the value.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yay, we are raising the consciousness, Sharon, you and I. Okay, so I'm gonna pivot to a self-worth question.
Okay.
So the question for you today: can exploring existential questions and embracing spirituality help in overcoming feelings of self-doubt and inadequacy? How so?
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, it is that belief in the higher power, right? That makes a huge difference. For somebody who's not necessarily, believes in God or there's still, I think everybody has some spiritual sense. My dad will say he's an atheist, but he also, the entire time we lived in Europe, he drug us to church after church after church.
Maybe he loves the
He's,
architecture.
well, no.
No, wants to
No,
hear the
he talked
sermon.
about. Yeah, he didn't hear the sermon. It just, I don't know. He's searching, right? Dad lived through the Vietnam War. He went twice to Vietnam, lost a bunch of friends. He really struggles with an idea of a God that would allow something like that to happen. So he's searching. And I think even if you're not a Christian or a Muslim or Hindu or any other religion, but you do believe in a higher power. And if you don't, I mean, a lot of people believe in the power of the earth. There's always something, right? And no matter what you believe in that spiritual side, something is driving you. Even if it is just your own individuality, if that's what you believe in, there's still something that drives you and tapping into that sense of why do I do what I do? Why do I find joy? There's got to be a reason you find joy. So what is it that brings you joy is a way to kind of connect to what it is you believe. So if you like nature and you like being out in nature and walking around, that's what brings you joy. And so finding some strength in knowing that the earth is there and that there's those energies around us that we don't see but we feel. You can absorb all of that and it brings that sense of purpose. And that's really what it comes down to. We're not here just to exist, but we're here to do something, and it can be big and it can be small. God doesn't care. God just wants you to serve somehow. Some of us are loud and bold and, gets out
Too
there.
much?
That does too much. Yeah. That doesn't mean I'm any better than anybody else, because I have a lot of shortcomings, and sometimes I felt like a failure as a mom. I could teach all these things, but I wasn't always as good as implementing it. And I look at some people and I think, wow, you're an incredible
They're
parent. And I
kicking it.
wish I could.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if that is your focus and that's what brings you joy, and you're raising children who are going to be change makers, that's your purpose, right? I mean, so finding those things that really light up who you are and then being happy in that, I think, is really important. And if you're doing things that are making you upset all the time, that are making you sad, that you feel like I'm
You're a
doing this
terrible
because I
person.
have to, yeah,
Uh-huh.
or I'm a
Yeah.
terrible person, then it's time to kind of get deep and think, why am I doing this? Why am I really here? And sometimes it takes courage, but yeah. Yeah, I feel
Ooh,
like everybody has a way to connect. It's just finding that way. Yeah.
yes, you hit it. Okay. I love it, Sharon. Thank you. Okay. What is your heart's greatest wish?
My goodness, my heart's greatest wish is that we could somehow rise above all of this political crap and start viewing each other as humans again. We depersonalize in order to build walls between us and whoever we see as the other. And I want those walls to come down. And a lot of that has to do with politics. Everything gets locked up in that. I want us to go back to that idea that every human is worth something and is meant to be loved and meant to be understood, meant to be heard in their own way. And I'd love just to see us start seeing people as people and not as statistics and something other than ourselves. And that's my greatest wish.
If you could create a quote right now to leave to the audience listening and the world as your legacy, what would it be?
My goodness, a quote for myself?
And for the world
Hmm.
as your legacy.
For the world. Well, I have it on my shirt. My shirt says
Fostering dream.
fostering
I saw
dreams.
it.
And then fostering futures. That's kind of that's my hashtag, but that's my mission, right? I'm fostering dreams and I'm fostering futures, and I think I want that for the world, right? Because like we said, foster kids, foster families, children in general, they are our future always, and I want to foster their dreams and I want to build a world where they can follow those dreams. So yeah, I think that would be my legacy.
You have a beautiful soul, Sharon. I feel it.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. How can people reach out to you if they want to know more about fostering?
Yeah, LinkedIn is the best place to find me. That's where I live. I do a little bit on Facebook, but not much. But I'm on LinkedIn. You look up Sharon Dunlevy, SharonDunlevy, and you'll find me. And that's the best way to find me.
Well, that is a wrap on today's inspiring episode with Sharon Dunlevy. Sharon, you have a beautiful soul. I thank you for showing up and showing out every day without fail, and for the work that you do to uplift the world around you and the community around you. So thank you.
You're welcome. I'm so glad to be here.
Thank you. And for our listeners, this has been Your Wordless. Read that again, the juxtaposition of your very soul. Now, if you've ever felt wordless, remember you are not alone. Your soul chose to be here, to matter. And for that reason alone, you are worthy. A huge thank you to you again, Sharon, and to all of you for listening. Until next time, I am Nick Nieras. Keep shining, keep growing, and always remember you are worthy and you are enough. See you in the next episode.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sharon, for your time.
Thank you.
Love this episode? Now, transformation doesn't end here. Head on to at holistic.lifestyle_with Nick, that is on my Instagram, or head on to my website www.denigneras.holisticlifestyle.com for more info on my coaching framework, which is the Worthy, Authentic, and Abundant Framework, digital guides, and my upcoming events such as retreats and master classes and workshops. Now, I also do intuitive readings where we get to check on your soul path. And if you're also wanting to check on your energetic alignment, I have done that too. And I offer that kind of services. So, my question to you is, are you ready? Because I am. Let's make your lives together.
Good morning to you, Sharon. How are you doing today?
Good, Nicolette. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I'd like to say thank you for saying yes to be interviewed today and for coming on to my show. I'd like
Thank
to
you.
introduce. No, thank you. The honor is mine. I'd like to introduce myself to you formally and to all of our listeners tuning in for the first time and or returning subscribers. My name is Nicolette. I am the creator for the podcast titled You're Worthless. Read that again. The juxtaposition of your very soul. Now, today we're going to talk about advocating the needs of children in foster care. And so I would love to read a bit of introduction for Sharon for our listeners, and then we can get right into our conversation.
Good.
All right. Hello, everyone. We have Sharon Dunlevy here with us. Sharon is a passionate advocate for the educational success of children in foster care, with a mission to bring systemic change to policies and practices affecting foster youth. She equips foster parents with the knowledge and tools to navigate educational loss, ensuring these children have the support they need to graduate and succeed beyond the system. Welcome to the show, Sharon.